Welcome y'all to DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. Today we are talking about food plots versus corn piles. And what are we doing to cause our bucks to go nocturnal? This is a big problem that a lot of us are facing. We're getting a lot of our bucks in our plots or on our corn piles, if it's legal to do in your area. We pick one up, we're really excited about it, and then we get close to hunting season, and what happens? About 2 to 3 weeks before hunting season, that sucker starts showing up during nighttime. And he gets later and later, and his daylight appearances become less and less, okay? We're going to go through this article comparing food plots and corn piles, and I think we're going to start to see some common patterns that happened for me when I was able to use bait 2 years ago, and some of the things that I saw on my farms that led me to believe that I was causing these bucks to go nocturnal, okay? So let's start off with just comparing the two. Some of the advantages of corn piles, if they're legal to do in your area, you can put them exactly where you want them. So you can go as close to his bedding as you possibly can. You can put that corn pile out there and you can have reasonable confidence that he's going to use that corn pile, right? So we can manipulate where we put those piles or the feeder or whatever you use to most benefit us, okay? So that's one big, huge advantage of corn piles. Another is, if you put out a corn pile, that's the best attractant that you can put out. Whether you put minerals is great if you can do that in your area. We cannot. But a corn pile or a feed corn is, in my opinion, the most strong attractant that you can give to a whitetail. You will eventually get every deer on camera, or 98% of them in that area, on a corn pile. That's super, super good for your inventory, knowing what's there. Corn pile is absolutely phenomenal for knowing what's on your farm to be able to hunt this fall. It's easy, okay? Corn piles are super easy. You take 2 or 3 bags in with your four-wheeler, your Ranger, you dump them on the ground and you drive off. It don't get a whole lot easier than corn piles, okay? That's a huge advantage of them. You don't have to have any equipment. Once again, your four-wheeler, your Ranger, if you don't have that, you can just pack them in. So we don't have to have any big, expensive equipment to be able to put our corn piles out. You can see a lot of deer on every single hunt. That's a major one. That's what we're all looking for. We all want to be able to see a lot of deer on every hunt that we go on. Corn piles make that possible. You have short-term success. I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes more, but let's get to the negatives, okay? Deer learn the game, okay? They learn that corn pile in the middle of a woods, nowhere close to a cornfield, they learn that that's danger. Now, how do they learn that? Is it by us going in, dumping the corn out? Is it just too much human scent there? Is it all of the above? I can't go into that. I don't know. But they definitely 100% learn the game. So I've got 12 or 13 farms that I run on. And I can tell you my first year, I had a farm that was absolutely dynamite. And what I figured out was that farm, I talked to the people that hunted around me, nobody had ever used corn in that area. And that was a time when we could use corn, by the way. So when I started putting corn out and those deer had never been hunted over corn, it was like shooting fish in a barrel almost. It was very easy. They were coming during the day. It was mind-boggling what kind of a pull that was for those whitetails. So we did very well on it the first year. What happened the next year? It really slouched off. I mean, you could tell that these deer knew that those corn piles were not natural. They knew that was danger. And they made that over 1 year. And I mean, we didn't kill 15 bucks off this place in 1 year. to let them know this, okay? But they picked up quick that corn pile, while very tasteful, is dangerous and to only go around it at night, okay? So I had another farm that was a absolute awesome farm, and I really didn't have any good quality bucks on there that I really wanted to harvest. Well, I went in and I planted a soybean food plot, and bam, like clockwork, with about a week or two later, here comes this giant. I'll post you a picture of him. Probably a 6.5-year-old buck, 10-pointer, actually 12-pointer with split brow tines on both sides. Beautiful, heavy, mature whitetail buck that anybody would harvest. He daylighted all summer long in that natural food plot. All summer long. What happened was, as we got closer to season, I kept going in there checking my cameras. I kept going in there to put more corn out, or put more mineral out. I hadn't started corning at this point, and we could mineral at that point. About a month before season, I started putting corn out. And I kid you not, as soon as I started putting that corn out, that buck started showing up a lot more sporadic. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, why did you even mess with something if it was working? For us, mineral does really, really well all summer long. But then once they get to really close to where those racks are done growing, it becomes less of an attractant. They were eating the beans pretty regular. He was in there every single night. And he still was. When I started putting corn out, he ate the heck out of that corn. He loved it. But that deer knew that corn pile was not supposed to be there, and that was danger. And that farm, I learned out later, people had used corn to hunt there in the past. That deer had been, did he see another buck get shot over the corn? Did he just realize that was danger by the human scent being around? I can't tell you that. But that buck knew that corn pile was no good for him. And he went strict nocturnal on us. And that's what he did. And I think I pushed him to that by the corn pile. I really do. And I honestly believe that. Let's get back to some of the negatives of the corn piles. You can have spooling problems, okay? If your feeder stops working, batteries die, whatever, heat, humidity inside, or if you're putting it on the ground, you can get a lot of rain and it spools, okay? There's claims that it's bad for your turkeys too, so I'm not going to get into that. I don't know the answer to all that. What else is a negative? You're going in too much and putting too much pressure on, period. I think that's the main thing with corn piles, is you're having to go in there too often. I didn't realize how bad or how much of a negative impact I was having on these whitetails going into these farms. And I was only going in once every couple weeks. But when I had these cell cams and I was getting live pictures, I could see how these deer reacted, and I would be getting pictures every single night on my phone, every night. Right? Okay, and then I'm going in there to check or whatever I'm going in there to do. And I go in there, and for 36 to 48 hours, nothing. You have a negative impact every time you go into those woods that we may or may not know that we're even doing. Okay, so you need to limit your time that you're spending on your hunting stand prior to hunting season, and try not to let these bucks know that you're going in. I'm telling you, when I go in, I spray down. I use scent lock gloves. I'm using rubber boots. I'm not going in with leather boots on, not sprayed. I'm taking precautions, and yet still, every single time I go in, I'm having a negative impact on that area, okay? I'm sure many of you had noticed this. A huge negative of corn piles is when you're hunting over corn piles, that big nanny doe is sitting there staring like this right here the whole time. She's looking up, trying to find you. She knows that's not natural. She knows you're there somewhere, and eventually she's going to bust you. She may not bust you the first couple times. She's going to end up busting you. That's just when they go to a corn pile, they are on high alert, or at least they are in my area, and they are looking for us every single time, and eventually they're gonna bust you. Whether a little wind swirls, whether she sees you moving, she's gonna bust you, and once she busts you, she's gonna bust you every single time until you make her not bust you anymore. And you're not helping your herd with corn piles. Because let's face it, most of us, when we could bait, we were putting bait out only during hunting season, maybe a little bit before. When hunting season was over, we were burned out and we're not putting out corn to help those deer get through the winter. Okay, they're only benefiting us for the most part. All right, let's move on to food plots. The advantages of food plots that I think are absolutely key. You're providing awesome nutrition for those whitetails even when you're done hunting. So if you have a quality plot that's lasting into the winter months, you're doing more for your herd than you ever thought about doing with corn pile. You're feeding them those whitetails after you're burned out, you're sitting there watching football and basketball. Those deer are still able to go to your plot and they're still eating and gaining that weight back and being healthier for next year. Okay, that's the main thing that we've got with food plots versus corn piles. Second thing, if you're planting something like corn, you are not only providing the most preferred food source, but you are also providing a great habitat. If you don't think whitetails bed in corn, you're sorely mistaken. They love to bed in corn, and they will do it in a heartbeat. And you will see a lot. If you ever plant a standing corn plot, you're going to see a ton of whitetails bed in that corn. They love it. It's habitat and it's their most preferred food source. You can't beat those two things. They're extremely attractive. They're very high odds of success long term. Now, when I said short term earlier under corn piles, that's what I'm talking about. Short term for your food plots is until they catch on. Where, in my opinion, food plots, a standing cornfield, is natural. That's not something that they're scared to death to walk into. They've got cover, they've got food, and it's a big area. They don't feel like they're getting drawn to this little kill plot right here. They feel comfortable inside there, okay? And that's the main thing, is for your whitetails to feel comfortable on your farm. Keeps more deer on your farm during hunting season. Even if your neighbors are shooting every young little buck that they can, you're keeping a lot of the herd on your property, and that saves them. It may only save 2 or 3 a year, but over a full 5-year period, you've saved a lot of bucks. Okay, so that's super important in managing your herd for maximum results. Okay, it's extremely satisfying to hunt over a good quality plot that you have established and that you planted and you put all your blood, sweat, and tears in. If you've never done it, it's really something you should experience. It's so satisfying sitting out there and knowing that you have positively helped those deer. And you've not only helped your hunting, but you've helped your deer herd be able to make it through winter, to be able to be healthier next year, to hopefully grow better next year, and that you're not just a taker, but you're actually giving something to the whitetails, right? So if you haven't ever done that, that's really something that you should do, and try it one time. And I think you're going to have a new look at it at food plots. It's something that's really cool to sit and hunt over a plot that you planted, that you did all the work to, and you're seeing tons and tons of deer you're able to take your kids or whatever, and they're able to have good quality hunts, maybe get a harvest off of it. And it's really something you should experience. Some of the negatives of the food plots are they're expensive. They cost more than putting out corn piles. Okay, they cost a lot more money. The fertilizer, the lime, the seed, the spraying, they're time intensive. They're extremely time intensive. So you have a lot of work to do to get to that time to where you can enjoy it. Okay, So those are two huge negatives on food plots. I think they're worth it. I absolutely think they're worth it to do. I think if you watch my videos, you're going to have success in hunting your food plots if you're hunting them correctly. And that's a whole nother video for a whole nother time, is hunting food plots correctly. If you don't have good access and those deer know that you're in there every time, you can expect to be hunting pressured deer that are more nocturnal. But if they don't know you're there, they have no idea that you're there, your access is solid, and you've got the preferred food source, you're going to get to experience what most whitetail hunters don't. And that's unpressured deer. And when the neighbors start driving in, you're going to have the unpressured spot. Where do you think they're going to go? They're going to stay on your place because they're unpressured and they don't know you're there hunting. So there's definitely something to be said. I'm going to post a video about that later, about how to hunt these plots and successfully, and how to set these things up successfully so that you're not teaching every deer in the world that, hey, I'm in here, and that's going to make those deer go nocturnal if they know that you're in there. 100%. That's what's going to make them go nocturnal. It's harder to get inventory with food plots. It just is. When you have a 3.5 acre field, that's a lot of edging. And to get a deer to come right up in front of your camera to get a picture, it's very tough, okay? I experienced this a lot last year. I think a lot of it too is you need to go out there and sit, and you need to watch your whitetails. We rely on cameras too much to tell us our inventory, to tell us everything about our farms, when scouting should be our number one tool. Cameras they're a very good tool, but they're not, they're only seeing what we're pointing them at. That's all they're seeing. So deer's coming out right here and you've got it set right here, may not even be getting pictures of those deer. So going back to the nocturnal, I think that we are doing a lot of this nocturnal by going in too much. I think that's one of the biggest things that we as whitetail hunters need to work on, is we are going in to our locations too much. And I'm talking summertime. I'm not talking during the hunting season. I'm talking about summer and early fall is when I think I made my mistakes in the past, and I was going in way too often. I think our corn piles are not a good thing. I think they are good for drawing deer to you. Do I think you have the best results killing a 4, 5, 6-year-old buck over a corn pile? Absolutely not. I think you would talk to very few people in the country that would tell you that a 4, 5, 6-year-old deer doesn't realize that a corn pile is a negative thing for him, and he's not going to daylight there very often. If he does, he's going to come in downwind and scent check that entire area first. Okay? So they're not stupid. When they've got to 4, 5, 6, they didn't get to 4, 5, and 6 by running up into a corn pile middle of the day during hunting season. Okay, and that's the reality of it, is we are putting too much pressure on these deer with our corn piles, and we're going in way too often, and that is in turn turning these bucks nocturnal. The best thing that we can do is to stay out, plant our food plots, and let our plots bring these whitetails in naturally. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more daylight deer. And that's the case for me last year. No doubt in my mind, I had more daylight deer than I've ever had on camera. In 2020, we could bait, and I had tons and tons and tons of bucks. Tons of bucks. Tons of them were they were nocturnal. They were absolutely nocturnal. And after I saw some of these deer transition from daylight to nocturnal, for no reason at all, except for when I started putting corn out there, I really wanted to try hunting without any corn. So when 2021 comes and we get thrown into the CWD area and we can't bait anymore, we can't put mineral out anymore. I think to me, it was kind of a exciting time. I wanted to see what we could do without using corn and minerals. It had always been used in our area, and I think it almost got used so much that we conditioned the deer herd to it. I had one farm that was one of my best farms. I'd put it up against any in our county, and when we were bow hunting specifically, it was a disaster. They knew those corn piles, but they had been hunted over corn piles there for probably 7 to 8 years before I got that farm. Those deer knew those corn piles were not a good thing. So they would come to them at night in almost zero daylight activity. I'd get pictures of them on the farm, out in fields, ag fields, whatever, transition zones during daylight, but they would almost never make it to a corn pile by dark, usually not even close. Usually it's 2 or 3 hours after dark they would get there. So let me know what you guys think. If this is something that you see in your area or not. I think we definitely see it in our area. But I would like to know if this is countrywide or if this is just in my part of the world here in Western Kentucky. So if you found this video useful, I would really appreciate if you would like and subscribe. That helps me a lot with the subscribers and liking the video. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. I hope this video helps you out. There's going to be a lot more content coming real soon, so y'all stay tuned. Thank you.